Greetings, viewers, and welcome to the first of what will surely be very many blogs. Today I'd like to talk about Social Security, or at least SSI and disability. I'm sure many of my viewers will know roughly what both of these programs are. Basically, my understanding is disability is people who have worked a certain amount of time, became disabled, and can no longer work. SSI is basically supplemental income for people who can't work or are working but only making X amount of dollars. But to me, there's a lot of inconsistencies, even just dealing with the rough definition between the two programs. Disability, for example, it doesn't apply to people, as far as I know, it doesn't apply to those who have been disabled all their lives and can't work. Social Security takes those people and has them instead run on SSI. Which to me kind of brings up a sticky point because, you know, as most of my closer friends would know, my wife is on SSI, and it's because she has had disabilities since her childhood that have prevented her from working. But the sticky point about this situation is SSI is more prone to limitations and cutoffs and qualifications compared to disability. Disability, once you're on disability, you have a certain amount of income, and it doesn't really change. SSI, it's basically based on income. It's based on mostly, you know, by definition, it's based on how much income you already have coming in. If you're working, if you have anything of value, things like that. But in certain situations, not all situations, but certain situations, do they allow themselves to look at joint income or spousal income. Let me define myself even more. If you're on SSI and you live with a roommate, for example, they're probably not going to think anything about it. As long as you're not making too much money, as long as you don't own too many things of value, you're still fine. However, when you get married, whole different ball of wax. Because SSI, you know, the agency feels like, okay, how much does your spouse make? What does he have of value? And then you take that, put it into their crazy mathematical equations and say, okay, because the spouse has this much value or this much income, we're going to dock your SSI paycheck. Which to me, in a way, it's a form of discrimination. And to me, it's also not fair. Simply because roommate situation, you can have one roommate, you can have 3 roommates, you can have 5 roommates. SSI typically won't react. So, basically, you know, you can have 5 roommates, you're sitting there, or maybe even like almost everybody in the house has SSI, and they're all just sitting there collecting SSI income, and it's more than enough to pay the bills and everything, and it's just extra money to them provided by the taxpayers. Whereas, you get married, it might just be you and your spouse. The spouse is doing everything he or she can to make a decent living, and you're relying a lot on that SSI paycheck, but SSI turns around and says, okay, the spouse is working a decent job or he has, you know, something of value, we're going to dock your SSI paycheck. I don't see where that's fair. I feel like if SSI is going to do one thing to one group, they should do it to both groups. So, if they're going to not judge a roommate's income, then they shouldn't be able to judge a spouse's income, or their worth, or what have you. Or if they want to do it to married people, then they should be allowed to do it to roommates. Case in point, before, when my wife and I moved here to Colorado back in the summer of 2010, we weren't married yet. So SSI said, okay, this is your new income level because of, you know, the state change and everything. And they left it at that. I mean, they really weren't even bugging me for my pay stubs. Once we got married, though, it was a whole different ball of wax. They wanted to see my pay stubs, and they said, okay, you're making X amount of dollars. This is what we're going to do to the paycheck. Now, when we first got married, I'm at Walmart now, and I was at Walmart back then. But I was working during the daytime making a lot less money, so they didn't really do anything to her paycheck at the time. In fact, I'm not sure if they even did do anything to the paycheck. But once I got promoted and switched over to overnights and started making more money, they said, okay, now you're making X amount of dollars, so we're going to start pulling money out of your wife's paycheck. Needless to say, even with a modest $2 increase in pay, they cut Stephanie's paycheck by... Stephanie's my wife, by the way. There she is. They cut Stephanie's paycheck by over half. So, it's like, even though I'm doing the best I can off of what income I have, they still feel like that they have to... They still feel like they're able to cut her paycheck because of how much money I make. And it's actually causing us a few problems because, I mean, overall our income might have shifted a little bit, whereas I'm making more money than she is. Well, it was always like that, but, I mean, I think we actually did the math a couple of times, and with the cuts and everything, I think we're actually losing money. We're making less money than we did before I took the raise. I mean, again, though, we are looking at more, we've had to take on more bills and everything like that recently, too. But beyond income effects and stuff like that, to me, it's just the principle of the thing. If you're not going to, if they didn't affect her, if they didn't alter her paycheck while we were living together but not married yet, why are they doing it when we're married? To me, again, it just boils back to, if you're going to do it to one group, you need to do it to the other group. Otherwise, you're not being fair, and you're ultimately just being discriminatory. Sorry, I'm looking at my notes. But, you know, it's just, to me, that's just a frustration. I'm like, why are they doing that to married couples who are doing the right thing, doing the legal thing, but yet they're still getting whacked. They're still, you know, it's like people who live together make the right moral decision to get married, and then SSI takes advantage of it. But if they're just living together, it's like, hey, we'll still give you money, even though for all we know, you're getting $1 million into the household every month. So we're just paying... We're saving off our tax dollars to ultimately be wasted. And that brings up another sticky point with me in Social Security. I know you guys have heard recently that, you know, they had to reveal that they have been effectively sending money off to gay people, or, you know, all these other situations. I'm like, okay, you're just basically wasting our tax dollars. I'm a taxpayer. So that to me is saying, well, we took your hard-earned dollars and we just blew it. So to me, I don't appreciate it. I worked too hard for that money, and for a government that, I mean, this could easily turn into another vlog if I wanted it to, but ultimately, I'm just angry at the fact that Social Security's doing this, and I'm just kind of angry at the fact, too, I'm sending my tax dollars off to, you know, all these Congresses and this government system where the Congress basically has an elementary school game on national television involving something that is very critical to our nation. And by that I'm referring to when we had the debt ceiling crisis back last summer. But again, that's for a whole nother blog. I'm just saying, you know, to me, I just feel like I'm a taxpayer. If Social Security thinks they can do all this and use all these crazy rules, then you know what? They don't need our tax money. I say, you know what? If you're really complaining that you have all these budgetary issues and stuff, instead of coming to us for more tax dollars, why don't you guys just start taking it out of your paychecks? Because to me, they make too much as it is. You got congressmen making $150,000, $200,000 when the people who are barely able to knock out $8, $9 a month are asking them for help, or $8, $9 an hour, are asking them for help, and they just sit here and they protect the wealthy by not adding on their taxes, and they raise our taxes. So, that's just it. That's just my frustration with Social Security, and a little bit of my frustration with the government overall. But, you know, again, my blog is just to put my opinion out there, my thoughts. You know, you folks are free to comment about it, free to leave me a message. Tell me your thoughts. I love having dialogue. I mean, maybe we can learn something. But ultimately, that should do it for me, for this blog. I'm Chris from Chris Country. You can feel free to leave me a comment on my YouTube channel, or you can visit my page, Chris Country. Chris Country has its own page on Facebook now, so feel free to leave me a message there. And that'll do it for me for this blog. As I always like to say, don't do anything I want to do, but if you do decide to flip off that guy that's on your ass, make sure you can outrun him. Have a good day, everybody.